You got it.
Well, it's great to meet you, and I'd love to begin our conversation with we're looking at April. 4 years ago, everything stopped. We began the global pandemic. How did you get through the pandemic, and how did it change you?
Wow. So we're business owners. I think it's a really great question. And depending on the state that you lived in, you were controlled by, state level entities on if you could run your business. So we actually own a kitchen tune-up franchise. I'm a franchise advisor, so I help people explore entrepreneurship. But my husband Paul and I had our business shut down for, I would say it was probably a little under or a little over, to be exact, a month where, we were not out seeing customers. However, our location is not a brick and mortar location. We're mobile, which they're called home service brands. And ours is kitchen tune-up. So we do cabinet reface and redooring. We're able to do a lot of texting with customers. They would send us pictures of their kitchen. We could still do estimates. So it was really a different way of doing business.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, everything got turned upside down. I always think about that time being just kind of a snow globe that was violently shook, and it wasn't just one or two things, it was everything, everything was affected. So I want to get to the heart and soul of what you do for a living. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders. It's career day, and one of the kids says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
Yeah, that's a great way. I'm a teacher, by the way, by
Okay.
college, so I love that you use that analogy.
Yeah.
So I consider myself an educator and an expert in the franchise industry. I think that's the easiest answer to give people. So if people have been laid off in their job or they've always dreamed about having a business and have entrepreneurial skills and abilities, they need to find somebody to navigate the waters in franchising because there's over 4,000 different options
Yeah. Yeah.
across the country. And I try to spend a lot of time with people based on skill set. We actually have them take a skills assessment so we can measure what are the sales aptitude, marketing, operations, accounting, finance, technology. So we really have some data to work with. We also get them pre-qualified so we know what the investment parameters are. And then, of course, geographic market, and then the role that they'll play in the business. So there's a lot of puzzle pieces to put together. And my role is to make sure that I can organize all of them, but make sure they fit the candidate. They have to fit.
Yeah.
So essentially, franchise matchmaker is probably the most simplistic term that we can use for today's purpose with the third graders. But I work with over 700 brands. I'm part of a national network. The network has contracts with all these companies. So they are looking for the very best qualified candidates and I help them find them
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
High level recruiting and, again, making sure all of the dots are lined up, so to speak.
What did you want to be in the third grade?
Probably a teacher.
Okay. So tell me how take me back to your childhood, where you were born and raised, and how do all these seeds get into you to have this business acumen and this drive you have?
Yeah, my husband and I are self-made. We do have two daughters. I'll share that with you. So we've tried to teach and emulate and, have them experience the life of entrepreneurship. And I grew up on a potato farm, 150-acre potato farm. So I started working at a very, very young age. There were some good years, there were some not so good years. I always wanted to have my own money. I never wanted to ask my dad for money. Just wanted to earn it, whether it was working for him or working at the local IGA. So that work ethic started with me very, very young.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing, but I will also share with you, I still have a really strong work ethic, and sometimes just shutting it down is tough.
Yeah.
And
I
then I
get.
went to school to be a teacher.
Mhm.
I thought that's what I wanted to do. And then I was kind of shocked when I got out. The market was saturated with teachers. The salaries were so low. And I did take a job teaching and I thought, oh, this is not going to work out long term. So I started waitressing in addition to teaching. And then I started teaching aerobics in addition to teaching. And I was doing two jobs. And I thought, oh, this isn't good. So a friend of mine said, you are a people person. You make things happen, Rainmaker. And she said, I want to introduce you to a colleague of mine in senior healthcare. And I was nervous. I said, I know nothing about healthcare, especially seniors. So I interviewed, it was probably 6 to 8 interviews with different teams. It was a statewide kind of position, and I got the position.
Yeah.
And so I pivoted right out of education, spent my corporate career in senior healthcare.
So who's been a hero or an inspiration for you in your life?
I would say um, many, many people, but I also want to give credit to my husband. I left that corporate healthcare job, as scary as this sounds. We opened a business in '07, not where you were in '07, but we had a pretty big recession hit. We
Yeah.
started this call out today with COVID, so we can talk about recession-proof businesses. We launched a $1.2 million childcare center. We bought the real estate, obviously the year before, got an SBA loan. I quit my job and I went in as an active owner operator. I was a director because I had the education degree, back to the teaching degree.
Yeah.
So, I would say, my hero is my partner, my husband. The two of us together make a good team. I could never do all this stuff on my own.
Yeah.
So we built that and it actually blossomed because parents had to go back to work. But who knew?
Yeah,
Who
right.
knew?
Yeah, no one would have known for sure. So market forces are very strange. So talk to me a little bit about if you could meet one person on the planet right now that you find fascinating, who would it be?
Do you read any of the Rich Dad, Poor Dad books?
I have not. I've heard all
Oh,
about him, but I haven't.
okay. So I reference all of his books. I'm publishing my own book right now, called Your Franchise Fast Pass. It's a step-by-step guide to helping you find your essential business. And he's in the book. I referenced him. He has a great reference on cash flow quadrant, and I highly recommend you look at it. But if I could ever, I can go to his conferences, which I very well may. I'd love to have him endorse my book, but he has some great books out there. But the cash flow quadrant talks about how to build wealth
Yeah,
and how to diversify yourself. And it's actually got 4 quadrants that teach people about what you can accomplish as an employee, right? Self-employed. So I won't obviously elaborate on it. You should look it up yourself,
sure.
but
Yeah,
uh, he's kind of cool.
yeah, I get it. So you have to give out good advice to people. What's the best advice you've ever gotten?
Well, I think the best advice I ever got is when we were thinking about starting the child care center, people said, "How are you going to be successful? You've never done this before. How do you know what you're doing?" And I said, "I have a great answer for you. We found a husband wife team in Silicon Valley to actually be our mentors.
Yeah,
And we paid them. We paid them $65,000. They supported me in every aspect of that business, from operations, the technology part, I mean, everything, the vendors. So very similar to a franchise system.
yeah,
And it's funny, I look back on it now and I'm like, oh. And so I think having an expert involved in, whatever your hopes and dreams are, and if you are thinking about business ownership, it's tough to do it alone. We all know
yeah,
that. It's
sure.
tough. You got to make all the decisions on a dime, like pivot. And I was blessed to have her work with me. She said I reminded her of when she was younger and she started her business. And it was a gift. We
Yeah,
paid for it,
yeah,
but I mean, I had somebody to call, and it
yeah,
endorsed my product, it endorsed my services. But more importantly, it gave me confidence.
for sure. So what is that motivation for you every day to do the job that you do well and to evolve as a human?
I get to help people.
Yeah,
I really get to help people every day. Now, not everybody's cut out for business ownership. We all are clearly know that.
yeah,
And, you need to have obviously the financial wherewithal. Motivation drives success. Not everybody in this world is motivated to step outside of the norm and, have a business. They'd rather be a W-2 employee. But I give the advice that either side you're on, it's hard.
yeah,
I've been on both. So I've also been on both of doing a startup, owning a franchise. I think the perception and the motivation that we have to be successful, I have always been highly motivated. We've had a lot of successful businesses. We've built them and we've sold them. We're still doing some real estate plays, but I think I'm hopefully after the book launches, things are going to slow down for me.
sure.
So I've done a lot in a short amount of time,
Yeah,
and the motivation has always been there for me. And people do ask me where I get it from. It's a really good question. I think I was born with it.
Yeah, in your DNA. What's the best thing about living in Maine?
We love to boat. We have a Ranger tug. We are boaters, and I can't wait. And actually, in 2 weeks, we actually get it out. It'll sit in the driveway for a while. But I don't know if you've been to Maine, but Casco
I
Bay
haven't.
has so many islands. And behind me over here, you can see a little bit of the islands. But you can go tour all those. You can get off, but you're protected from the big ocean.
Yeah,
But there's just so much adventure.
that's cool.
Yeah.
I'd love to get up there. I'd love to get up there.
It's a
Um,
destination for a lot of people. I work with candidates across the country and they're all like, so where should we go first? I'm
yeah,
like,
right.
up the coast, all the way up the coast, back down the coast.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's awesome. So, of all of the things that you've done in your life so far, what are you the proudest of?
Well, I'm a mom,
Yeah.
raised two healthy girls, which I think parenting is the toughest thing that we all just have had to do in our life. Do you have children?
Oh yeah, I got two. I know. I get it.
And there's no manual.
No, there's never a manual, or it's
There's,
lost. It's
yeah.
having a party with all the other manuals.
Yeah, it is. So there's no manual. So it's you figure it out. But I also think that Paul and I have kind of set examples for our children that there's another way to build wealth.
Yeah.
Like we can all be W-2 employees, no problem,
Mhm.
but we can't all be business owners and take the risk and
Yeah.
see it through and the grit and the grind.
Yeah.
So they think we're crazy, of course, because we
Right.
never stop.
Right.
But I do think someday they'll look back and go, wow, my parents worked really hard and
Hmm.
we've created kind of a family legacy that was never there.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Speaking of a manual and youth, if you have a dream tonight, you run into the 18-year-old version of you, and you could give that young version a piece of advice based on the wisdom you've gained in your life so far. What advice would you impart on that young version of you?
Yeah, this actually just happened to me recently. My background is education. And I think for a lot of these kids that are either entering college or, trying to figure out what they're going to do, they feel like they are in a box. So if you have a finance degree, you work in finance. If you are in business or marketing, you're going to stay in that lane. And for me, I was able to pivot into many different industries. And I have to say, it's been pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So I think that don't be shy would be my advice and keep your eyes open to opportunities. And there are a lot of industries that you can leverage your skills and transfer them. And you might be scared about it because you're not trained to do it, but you have skills. Skills
Yeah.
apply in any industry. So
Hmm.
don't stay just in the lane. If you're not happy with something that, again, not sure about going, no 18-year-old really has an idea, I don't think, about what they're going to do in the future, but they think they do. So, just keep your mind open. Go get
Yeah.
your degree and it's all about meeting people.
Yeah. That's it. It really is. I've learned that more and more as I've gotten older. You can send out all these marketing brochures, do all these things, do everything that you want, but at the end of the day, the real thing is that meeting of people, the relationships you create. It's the key to all of it.
Yeah, I mean, I will take a phone call from not just anybody, but anybody that I can help. I will tell them if I can help them and if I can't, but if I can refer them somewhere to actually get some help, whether it's, funding, for example, right? If they don't have a lot of money. But I will always speak with people, network with people, even though I might not be able to help them. But
Yeah,
I still might meet somebody nice. And you know what the good thing is? They may refer somebody to me next week and say, you know what? You should talk to Liz, and it's all
absolutely.
about networking and referrals. It's great.
Absolutely. It certainly is. So, Liz, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, colleague, everybody around you, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Wow, I gotta think about this one. Um, I think that I see myself as accomplished. I see myself as, the grit and the grind. But I think more importantly, I figured out how to pave my own way.
Yeah.
And it's hard, but again, it goes back to the DNA and the motivation of what you're trying to create and having the energy. And I think the other piece for me is I have a very positive attitude
Yeah.
always. have a positive attitude, and it's into a lot, it's opened a lot of doors. I have a very kind heart, but I'm a very hard worker.
Yeah,
And I think that, if you work hard, you'll reap rewards.
for sure. So if anyone wants to get the book, they want to reach out, learn more about you, anything about your world, how do they do that?
Well, I never dreamed of having 3 websites. This may sound insane, but I have 3 websites now. So Liz Leonard Franchise Advisor was the original. It's been out there for a decade, by the way. I've been doing advising for 10 years. Then we just created 2 sites to go with the book, Your Franchise Fast Pass, a lot of tools, a lot of education. That one was really designed by wanting to share again tools with people. And the book is franchisefastpassbook.com. And the last thing I'll share with you about the book is we interviewed 8 franchisees,
Yeah,
real people,
yeah,
told their stories. They're so happy to be in the book, but they all had access to my educational portal too. Back to the education.
that's it.
So I built an educational portal for my candidates so that they can walk through all the steps of how to thoroughly investigate franchise brands. And that's when I said, oh, I got to write a book about this.
Yeah,
And
for
it's been
sure.
over a year.
So, everything's happened in 3, so that's probably a good number to have.
I think so. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. It's meant to be. Liz, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for your passion, for your story. Best of luck with everything. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Nice to meet you.
Nice to
Have
meet
a
you.
good weekend.
You too.
Bye-bye.